Hello and welcome to an episode of Shock Talk. We have a special guest today. All have seen him, all know of him.
Not everybody.
Who are shock geeks.
Yeah.
Whoever's a shock nerd that wants way more info than they need before their purchase.
Yes, which is always better
knows
than way
this
too
man.
less. Yeah.
This is Sean Reyes, owner of Shock Surplus. Welcome, Sean.
Clap
Welcome,
again.
Sean.
Woo, come on, Darren. Clap.
You guys know it's been like 3 years we've been trying to get this guy on a podcast. We finally did.
Yeah.
We had to make a mistake to bring him down, though.
Yeah.
So.
I had to break some parts.
Yeah.
Here, so. But yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's an honor to be here. I love the facility. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Honor to share the platform with you, man. So tell us why you're here.
In life, I guess, in life, just because, just like all of you guys, we've been off-roading in Baja and just to, camp and fish and do all the things before this whole industry really took off like it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just found myself in a position to where, we started Shock Surplus because of all the lifted trucks, all those lifted trucks from FabTech and ProComp and Skyjacker and Superlift back in the late 2010s. That's, no one knew anything about shocks back then.
Yeah.
And, arguably maybe still don't know anything, but
Correct. That's correct.
started.
That's why we're here.
I feel like before it was like a shock was just a shock that fit the dimension that was needed.
That's all we were doing. Was just like, you need a 21-inch extended length shock for your Chevy 2500.
And it's either going to be white or yellow.
Exactly.
That's your two choices.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just started educating from that perspective, and then, in the mid-teens, everything just exploded, right? And so our mission has become even more pronounced now with all the options and all the...
Well, as technology changes, there's more that needs to be explained because, we're guilty of it, just like every other manufacturer, as we put out technology, but we fail to explain how it works.
Yeah, you guys have like 14 knobs on your shocks now.
Yeah, exactly. I think you just did a video trying to explain all 14 of them as well.
Just to be fair, Sean is here today because one of his knobs got hung up.
Yeah,
so
the knob didn't work.
We're fixing it.
Yeah.
Well, back in the old days, people wouldn't. If it was a $79 shock, they're like, "Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What does that thing do?
$79.
How many knobs do I get for $79?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still Rancho's still running its adjustable shock from like '97, right? Or
Yeah.
And that's a single thing.
With that red adjuster at the bottom,
Yeah.
does nothing.
Lovingly called the oven knob.
It's crazy how it's evolved. People will spend $4, $5, $6. Hopefully, in our new Bronco coming out, $7,000.
Now,
on a set of shocks.
Here's what bothers me.
Let's hear what bothers you.
Oh no! Prepare for an unload.
And you might feel the same way. You might not. Like we love to sell the fancy stuff, but I'm all about qualifying the consumer before.
That's why we do what we do.
Yeah,
Yep.
like you got to qualify the consumer. Most guys are going to these sales counters that I'm not going to mention names, but they don't know their options.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guy's like, hey, I got this with the elite kit with compression adjusters and it's internal bypass, and this is the best you're going to get, and focusing on their sales rather than the consumer.
Yeah,
so
the whole thing's been driven by line card. We know that, right? But the consumer doesn't know that the guy in the shop only has 4 options in front of him that he can make money on, right?
Right.
And so Surplus was literally built to like show everyone the option, drill down to what's actually good for you on a budget, on use, and all of that because on one end we're the paradox of choice and too many choices. So we're always having to like figure that out to like, no, there are 15 options available for you, but actually here's our 3 most recommended ones based on what you just told us, right?
Yeah, that fits your
but most shops don't even have that ability because they're only selling 4. And
I just love the way that the data is laid out on your website. I actually use your website for a lot of benchmarking studies that I do. So everything's there. I can pick out all the different levels of product, and the videos that you make alongside of those help the customer into the right parts. It seems to me like it's a complete no-brainer.
Like educated decisions. That's all it's about is educated decisions. Look, I just spent $50,000 or $55,000 for this TRD off-road 4Runner. Look, I'm not the guy who's going to say, hey, 2.5-inch spacer is fine. if you're not going to use it off-road, because I don't want to put something subprime on a $55,000 vehicle either. But if the guy's taking it from point A to point B, a 5100 is going to be fine for you. If it's never going to see dirt, lift it, but do it the right way. Do a 51. If you're going to see dirt quite often, do a 6112. If you want to go fast in the dirt, do an 8100. Like, give them the options. So if the first question to me is not, as a consumer, if I call Sean Reyes and say, hey, man, I got a new 6th gen 4Runner and I want to do something to the suspension, if the first words out of your mouth is how do you use your vehicle, if that's not the first words out of your mouth, I'm going on to the next guy. Because it's just like, you got to be properly qualified to know that you're in. No one wants to do the job twice.
Yeah, we're constantly talking people out of very high end stuff into more mid grade things, because people don't even realize how hard you could push some of these newer trucks off road, anyways.
Yeah,
right. And you can
until you see Sean Bowman on video.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, our motto for the past few years really has been, we're not trying to tell you what to run. We're trying to help you figure out what to run, right? And so that our whole mission is stemmed around that. And sometimes it's just like, come back to us in a year and use your money for a trip rather than a suspension that you aren't even going to utilize.
Yeah, right. To its potential.
Yeah.
And that's something. That's something you're figuring out now. Sean just recently put a set of 8100 bypass and 8112 DSAs.
DSA Plus.
DSA Plus on the front of his Tacoma. And when he called me, he's like, these things are badass. But do you know a consumer really that's going to push their vehicle? I mean, you told me it kind of runs out of throttle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So most consumers that are paying $750 a month for whatever they're aren't going to use it to that.
Yeah, I mean, all of our perceptions here are driven very much by what we see every morning on Instagram and YouTube, right? But that's like 1% of the market, right? And we're out there testing in Barstow or JV or whatever, and you see everyone else doing the same thing, right? But like, so that's such a small segment of the market. You don't know how many times we've been in customer vehicles doing a ride along or come out with us kind of thing, and me watching them drive a brand new $4,000 suspension system, I'm just like, you could have done that with your stock Bronco suspension.
Yeah.
And I get behind, I'm like, can I drive it? Can I show you what this thing can do? And like we go, and they're just like flabbergasted, like, wow, I had no idea my vehicle can do this. But then they're probably not going to ever get to that level.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, too gun shy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, if it's just the terrain that makes them gun shy, if it's the payment that makes them gun shy.
I'm guessing the payment and the insurance. Yeah.
But
the cool thing about the 8112 with all the different zones, with the JCO and RCO, you do get a smoother ride on every condition. So at least you got that going for you.
100%.
Right. Yeah. So even if you just drove it on the street, it's still better than it was.
It's still better, still smoother. But
and it's a great value for the what $4,500 to $5,000 package that is it. I can't even believe I'm saying it, but $5,000 is a great value for what you get.
It's a steal
when you compare it to our competitors.
True.
Or when you compare it to a long travel kit, which costs a hell of a lot more.
Right.
It still is a direct fit bolt-on part that's tuned for that vehicle, so you're not cutting welding and all these other things.
How I think about it is like, you could long travel a Tacoma, and I'm still going to be capped out at 70 or 60 or 70 anyways through some of these big whoops before you really need a cage. And on the consumer level, you're not doing that anyways. Like I don't have a cage on my truck, and I'm doing the 8112 DSA Plus at 50, 60 through not big whoops. We're not going through Barstow, Maine or anything, but like, out there having the freedom to do what you want. Like the shocks are far more capable than anything that the truck I'm going to do or the truck's going to do anyways.
Without the safety.
Exactly. Without the safety, and, still, trying to push these shocks to the limit and compare everything else that we've pushed to the limit as well. So, it's the shocks. What would you say they're, the shocks are
they just bring confidence.
Well, that too, but they're far
they're
ahead.
Faster. The shocks are faster than the vehicle. They're faster than the motor. They're faster than the chassis. It's very difficult to. And we're going to share some info some info with Sean. We're going to allow him to to publicly put out there, just because he feels the public needs to know, like, look at some dyno charts on how the ramp up rate is when you're into those zones. Because we can tell you all you want, but if you don't see, if you don't see it on paper, it's $5,000 is a tough sale if you don't show.
Well,
you know what I mean?
What we're figuring out though is like not everyone learns by just auditory, right? People need visuals, and so tying the visualization. So the dyno chart is not only visuals to be like, oh, that's what that behavior means, but it's also but dyno charts are like validation. And so we've always been talking like, why don't more brands show? In the car scene, Fortunato and a bunch of these other small car manufacturers, Moton and all these guys that sell really big systems, every single package comes with the dyno chart, right? The truck industry isn't there yet, so that's one of our missions, is just to start dynoing everything to validate what we're talking about, because you can, we have conviction about what we're doing because we're testing everything as well. But even then, people are like, well, that's just your opinion. I'm like, it is just only our 100%. Opinion. You don't have to believe us.
And while we're here, I figure it's a good time to let everyone know what Shock Surplus does. They're A to Z. So they're heavily in the light truck market now because that's just what's moving. But you guys have an E30, they got a shock for you. You guys have a motorhome, they have a shock for you. They do every single application that a shock is built for, right?
Yep.
So they're light truck, obviously light truck heavy everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you have like an E46 M3 that you need B16 kit for, they're your guys to go to.
Yeah, we do H&R, KW a bunch, BILSTEIN, all the B6, B12, B8 stuff, tons, iBox, tons. We sell. We got like 25 different brands on the site, I think. And
that's what I really like about managing that account is I'm able to monitor this account and also understand that this outfit sells everything. You know what I mean? So I see the dollars they do every month on top of the fact that they sell every other brand. So without competition, without options, BILSTEIN's BILSTEIN. If you're just selling BILSTEIN, you're just selling. That's what I love about your outfit is you have good things to say about every brand, and you have not so good things to say about every brand.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You're not biased in any way.
I think it's all data based, and back to the dyno graphs. A dyno graph is very dramatic, right? To show someone a picture of what this does. But when you see that shock cycling live on the dyno, if you actually had a video, the dyno feels like it's going to jump off the ground on some of those really hard cycles. And then you watch the graph ramp up like that when it goes into JCO and RCO. That's 100% raw data that a customer can see. And if you're standing next to the dyno, you can feel it in the floor, how hard the shock is working to decelerate the motor that's spinning the dyno. So it's very dramatic. It's very convincing information. And I hope that we can get you guys the graphs to start with, and maybe even some video.
It's also a way for non-believers to still comment.
We're not the only nerds out there.
Yeah,
we
like you said, it's validation.
We're kind of uncovering. Yeah. We're like allowing the other nerds to like take.
We've opened the lid on the box, and now everybody's coming out to see what's going on.
Yeah, the whole talk about digressive and linear and progressive and tuning and all this stuff. Does it actually matter for most of these people? Maybe not. But like as a building brand in this space, it's about transparency. It's about like understanding what your customers want, and not gatekeeping has been the biggest thing that we've really trying to address, I guess, just because and that's through like dyno charts and through just like tearing shocks apart and being like, this is the actual difference here. Like, forget all the other stuff. Like, this is what's going to make the biggest difference. It's the design of the piston, or it's the design of et cetera, right? And so we're trying to really understand, all of our YouTube channel. We take all of our comments. We take all the things that are happening in engagement across our whole company, and tailoring our what we come to you guys with and be like, can we get a dyno chart on that? Can we understand what you're doing with the new 8112s? Can we, what's up with the, you know, all these new applications you guys are coming out with? So,
or I get the occasional text message, hey, what's in the future for you guys?
Yeah.
You know, like he just wants to learn about what's coming, what's in the pipeline. And that's good too, is when you have the owner of a company that's engaged at that level.
Yeah.
You know
definitely.
what I mean? That's probably where the passion, it circles down to your guys, because they see how passionate and how enthusiastic you are about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, never really started this business to sell millions of shocks. It just kind of happened that way. But now it's just like still in the weeds, still trying to learn, because our business, our sales guys, you know, learn as well, and that kind of, you know, distribution of information to the rest of our audience and the industry is the mission. So someone's got to drive that.
Yeah.
And I just think that the model that you guys have put out there, I mean, if other people aren't listening or watching, the model works. And you're still tweaking it, I know. But it's just...
You'll probably always learn about valving.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know why. I mean,
yeah.
maybe because I went to college and I have a business degree.
Oh, relax.
Oh,
But
man, you have to bring that up. You have your hat on backwards. Leave it alone.
My favorite job, the most interesting things I find here is the valving.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know,
For sure. Change it. Do you like change it up and then take it out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I was
Change it back
younger,
up?
I would build shocks for whatever car I had, and I'd play around with the valving.
Or
in
other
my
vehicles,
garage.
like a quad that we revalved
Yeah,
like
quad.
9 million times.
You know, I wish
Yeah.
the industry was a little more fair in the way, like we've discussed this before. Everyone says digressive pistons aren't the way to go,
Or linear, or whatever.
Yeah, so we are probably the oldest company that has been digressive from day one, right?
But we also do linear.
Yes.
And we talked about this.
could
They
do
each
both.
have their place.
But like I've
Yeah.
said in past episodes, it's like, don't say digressive sucks. Digressive is just more difficult to tune. So
Right.
say that you're not comfortable tuning it,
Right.
rather than it sucks, because
Well,
we've valved digressive pistons to behave very linear.
Well,
vice versa.
Digressive piston. Digressive is a curve that has achieved a damping curve.
Right.
We call a piston a digressive piston because it can achieve that. But you can make it a linear curve by not compressing,
Yeah, stacking the
preloading
discs up a
But
certain
not,
way.
yeah, you can stack up the disc so it doesn't have that dish, and it is a linear
Right.
curve.
Right.
So our digressive piston, you can make behave like a linear.
Right.
It also has a check valve in it, so you don't have to have free bleed both ways.
Right.
So we use a digressive piston because it's way more tunable.
Interesting.
I've
always been.
if you have
and to be fair, I've probably been most happy on out of the box stuff from you guys and from Icon, because I just like the control. I like the sportiness and the predictability rather than a super soft thing that just
Right.
I always feel like I'm just getting thrown a little bit too much. And so,
A lot
for the
of-
record.
Yeah.
A lot of it is like vehicle shake. We pay attention to vehicle shake because, like, for OE, that's like a big deal. And if you don't kind of clamp down the little suspension movements, you hit a bump and the whole chassis starts vibrating.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, you
think
see headrests and sun visors
Yeah.
shaking on OE tune, and you're like, we can make that go away.
And I think like the digressive does a better job at controlling the chassis frame flex. You know, like the trucks like going down the 91 freeway bouncing around.
And by the way, when you're watching a video of Mr. Sean Reyes and he says that BILSTEIN is stiff, he means control. Sean Reyes means
I think I've always used the word firm.
Yeah, no, he does use firm, and that's the word we prefer. But
It does make it firmer. The digressive curve has this knee in it, and you feel it.
Yeah.
But what's worse? But no, wait. What's worse? You want something that
I'm backing
you
out,
want your
yeah.
whole chassis to shake when you're driving
And
down
that's
the
another
Dublin
thing too.
freeway? Or do you not want it to shake?
Firm is subjective, because most of the time when you're talking to someone that puts a B6 damper on, let's say, a E36
they want it.
chassis,
Yeah.
coming from a clapped out twin tube.
Yeah, that's way better.
It's not that it's firm. It's just you're that's how it should feel. It's controlled.
I mean, we've walked people back out of Kings because they're putting it on their overland setup, and they wanted the daily driven ride comfort, and they're stacking on 800 pounds, and we're like, and they come to us to like retune it, and I'm like, well, you can retune it, or you can sell those, buy a set of such and such, and have a bunch of money left over, which actually has happened. People don't even really know what they want. The whole definition, like we all know this because it's our job, but like the definition and the same word I'm saying to you right now is going to mean something different to numerous people, right? And so like just the baseline vocabulary is always like one of the things that we're addressing just in general. Like firm means this, comfortable means this, bump compliance, like no one knows what the hell bump compliance means.
Right.
It's like
you know what's odd to me is we were at Sandsport Super Show a few years back, and this guy came up. He owns a shop, an overland shop in LA. He was talking to me, I think you and Steve Von Sagren. And he said, I said, so why can't you guys, he's like, yeah, we build like top-notch overland vehicles and this and that. He's like, I said, so 8112s will fit that program really well. He's like, no, but I for some reason I get all the Filipino customers out of LA and they'll only buy Kings.
Just programmed just from what they see and hear.
Brand is so strong.
Yeah.
Brand in this industry overshadows performance by a long shot.
That's so bizarre.
And they're loyal to the T, like you said. You had to actually tell someone that's not the correct piece for your vehicle. This will work much better for half the price. Yeah. But they're that loyal that they're willing to sacrifice the ride.
They have it in their brain. They want that.
To get the name.
I mean, no one even realizes King, but 90-day warranty, no one realizes that at all. And then they're like, it's leaking. And you're like, well, you got a 90-day warranty. I'm sorry.
Up.
And
It's like
everybody else is
famous-
a year or lifetime limited or whatever. And people are like, oh, they didn't know they were getting into that. They didn't know they were getting into a shock that actually probably needs service by 20,000 miles.
Yeah, it's kind of more of a race type.
I look at
product.
King as the Toyota 22RE motor.
Yeah.
It's going to go forever, but it's going to need many head gaskets to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
That's what it's built for.
It's a great shop.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you look at the history of a 22RE versus the next most reliable motor in the world, which is the Chevy 350, and I'm sure we'll get comments about that. But anyway, the 22RE is rebuilt 3 times over the 350. So every 3 rebuilds on the 22RE, you're rebuilding once on the 350.
What about the motor in a LC100 Land Cruiser?
Oh, that's a 2UZ. That never needs to be rebuilt.
No, okay. Good. That's the same motor.
We need to get that. We need to get the Land Cruiser to come in.
Take good care.
Oh, I got a question for Shane. So we're starting up a service shop. I'm plugging myself, by the way. We're starting up a service shop in Reno. And but you're talking about how you just grew up tuning your own shocks. Like any suggestions? Because we're not professional tuners. We're not even pretending to be professional tuners, but we're rebuilding a lot more, and we know that there's a lot more people want to adapt their shocks on a rebuild to be, to accommodate their new setup rather than what they were 2 or 3 years ago. What kind of shocks were you tuning before? Was it just like your guys BILSTEIN's old school stuff, or even like
7100,
7100 take apart,
I would make a 7100 to fit like a Ranger, or this was before 5160s or any of that, or I had my 90s. Cherokee, and it was just experimentation, really.
Yeah, so that's what we plan on doing.
It wasn't. I'm not. My profession isn't shock tuning, but I'm interested in it. So
he's a college grad, though. Everyone knows that now.
Well, I'm just saying, I would much rather do shock tuning than sit in my office and look at a computer.
That's gonna be.
I'm not finished.
Yeah.
So experimentation.
Yeah.
You hear flutter stack. Okay, let's try that. Let's try one on the rebound. Let's try one on the compression. Let's try one on both.
It's a learn by doing process and take it out and drive it.
Do you guys as I'm being a noob in the tuning space, there's I feel like there's always a severe lack of resources. Did you have a resource, or was it all just experimentation and just pure that didn't work at all? Or did you have a guide to go by? Was there what's the resource?
It's kind of a black art when you talk to the shock tuners. So I would ask our shock tuners.
Yeah, it's more tribal. It is.
He kept a fair amount of base and preload shims in his glove box.
Now I have a question for you.
No, I mean, I would go and run it, go back home, take it off.
So from what I've been told by expert tuners is the biggest difference you're going to get in valving is your base and your preload shims. And then your low speed and high speed stuff in the middle is not going to make obviously as big of a difference as your base and preload shims. So I've got comfortable over the years making recommendations by seeing how a car behaves. And I'll be like, that needs a little bit of this. I mean, like Wes, that needs more compression.
Yeah, people that do it can see it. Are you doing more service, like rebuilds and things like that, or just like a shock tuning setup, or both?
More just service.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're, the whole, if you look at like what I've been doing is looking at Google Trends and Google search history over the past like 4 years and across, all the major guys, BILSTEIN, Fox, King, Icon, and you just see how much increase through COVID, increase in searches, increasing all the aftermarket stuff, and I'm like, all those people that have bought all that stuff now need service.
Right. No, that's definitely a need.
Yeah, it's
a
huge need.
Yeah.
I'm a favor. I mean, I haven't custom tuned a bunch of my own setups, so like the need for it, and do people actually do you need it? Sometimes we do change things up, but mostly it's all on the service side. Sometimes we're doing SDI's new kind of universal e-clicks, which a lot of people like. I really like those as well. So yeah, mostly just service because that's the biggest need.
But then you get the guy who says, "Hey, while you're doing this, you're always going to have that guy that wants to make sure that his service, he's maximizing his service. So hey, it felt this way. Can you do a little valving change while you're in there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would think that they would want to do that.
They do. We kind of don't. We purposely don't play with that game because like I can't confidently say that this is going to address your situation without like seeing the vehicle out there. At some point we'll get to that stage, but like we've got our hands full just on the service aspect and on the retail aspect that like I'm not gonna try to go out there and
exhaust resources for that.
Yeah, the shock tuning is, like Shane said, it's almost like a black art, and it would be a time vampire, for someone that has all these other things to do.
But you can get a formula.
And it's all but it's also the most subjective conversation you'll ever have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so subjective that, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's so subjective that there is room for error.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What you need to make sure is that when you're doing revalves that are changing up reservoirs and stuff, you got to make sure that you're not putting the shock in a situation where it's going to hydro or it's going to...
That's just basic rebuild.
Yeah. So. Not basic rebuild, but if you're tuning a shock too heavy, a non-reservoir shock too heavy, and it's just, you know what I mean? Where displacement, you got to, there's a lot to know.
Yeah, but all the stuff that we don't know, just as the, like that, it's still a black box for us, right?
Yeah, but it's always safe to put it back the way it came in.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the bare minimum.
Well, you assume anyway.
Yeah.
And you got to have a ton of shims.
That too.
And then you've got to have them from maybe each manufacturer.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of manufacturers cross because they're all like the 7/8s where we are.
BILSTEIN probably does 12, not because we're metric.
Yeah, we're metric. So we'd use a 12 ID and an 8 ID. So when you get to that stage, we'll have to talk about stocking shims.
Yeah.
But also it's going to be fun because now you get to play with technologies.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? So now you could say, hey, look at this. Look at, I'm going to put BILSTEIN doesn't offer DSAs on this 8100, but hey, I'm going to just buy the DSAs reservoirs from BILSTEIN, and I'm going to start putting the DSA on this 8100. Like stuff that we're not going to bother getting into just because it doesn't make sense for a production vehicle.
Yeah, but if you create another part number in stock.
If you want to make a production vehicle's suspension faster than their chassis and motor, that's up to you.
Or very similar to what you're doing with putting the Focus springs on for them in the 6112 kits. You know. It's just an additional benefit for the customer.
Yeah.
You could find little add-on parts and things like that become a nice benefit for the customer and make it a package deal. I love how you do that, by the way. Folks are talking about that out there. We can buy this complete thing off your website ready to go, like a quick strip.
I mean, SEMA's data came out that 60% of the aftermarket aftermarket customers are like doing all DIY, right? So like people in this, a lot of people in this segment are wanting to do it themselves and tinker it with themselves, or saving from a saving money aspect, right? So or a lack of trust from their local off-road shop. Out here in California, we've got an unlimited amount of choice basically for what shop to take your thing
like 7-Elevens.
Yeah, so it's so competitive, right? So the quality level is much higher than in a lot of other places around the United States, where it's just like one shop within 50 miles to do your thing, and you're at the behest of them. So those people are going to be like, no, I'm going to do it myself. I don't care if it takes me 14 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like COVID has created more automotive detailers, more automotive mechanics, and more automotive shock tuners than any time ever.
Out of
There's
end
a lot of
users.
shock
Yeah,
tuner.
just to
like after COVID, I would look and there's like 7,000 shock tuners within 100 miles away, and I'm like, oh my god. Or you type in automotive detail and you got Harry's detailing, Larry's detailing, Gary's detailing. It's like everyone is like this paint correction master, ceramic coater, wrapper.
I almost started a detailing business
during COVID.
Yeah, a long time.
Very good, very good.
But what else are you guys? What else is so on the horizon for you guys? I'm gonna ask my questions here. You guys got the Bronco 8112s.
You had a little sneak peek of that.
Yep, and then we've got some we've been waiting on the DSA smooth bodies. You guys got what's up with the 3rd gen Tundra? People have definitely been wanting to know about that.
Now you want me to jump off a cliff? Huh?
Right. Yeah.
It's in production. There we go. You don't have to tell us. There we go. Okay.
We're gonna have some new and exciting stuff out for that too.
Okay. Cool.
Hopefully we can make it before people start returning it off lease.
Well, probably like in 5 years we'll have a new and exciting product.
I haven't seen a 24 Tacoma around the parking lots yet, so I won't ask about that just yet.
We've got a lot of Evo Gray, DSA, filler updates for applications we already have.
So switching over from the zinc plated to the Evo Gray and adding DSA for current applications.
So like the Jeep DSA Evo Gray.
Oh, nice.
They'll be out like in July.
Okay.
Right now.
But your
JL and JT.
Your Jeep sales are. You don't do a ton of Jeep stuff, huh?
Nothing. Toyota just eclipses everything else, just because we've all been running Toyotas, and so it's a flywheel. Our content brings us those Toyota.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're excited about the Jeep stuff because the DSA is very effective, and I think it's just going to be great for the Jeep guys.
And it just transforms. I mean, you talk about transforming your Tacoma with 8112s. You put a good spring like a progressive or a dual rate spring onto a DSA shock or even our bypass shock for the JT.
Well, let's talk about the DSA for a second. I mean, it has a piston with a valve stack in it, and the high speed you basically preload this valve stack, and it's like an inline valving, so it introduces a ton of control when you whack something really hard, right?
Yep.
Then you've got the gold one to kind of subdue that. You can turn up the high speed, and if it's a little too harsh over the nibbly stuff, you can open the gold.
Yeah.
But it's like a whole nother piston there. It's a whole nother dimension.
It's almost acting like a kind of like a JCO.
Well, we called it back in the day an ACV, anti-cavitation valve. Right. The original BILSTEIN Blackhawk had that, and then we still have that in a 60 millimeter.
So you can add an anti-cavitation valve to any 60 millimeter reservoir. So 8125, 9200, even, I mean, if you want, it doesn't make sense, but a bypass, our 70 mil bypass has a 60 mil reservoir, so you can add an ACV to that if you want to.
Yeah.
So you guys are basically be able to have a DSA module that you can upfit a bunch of all the older 80, 8100,
you would be able to,
stuff. The only thing you won't be able to do is the plus part, which is the
JCO,
the JCO adjuster.
But still, we see a lot of upfits on other brands to add in the DSCs or the mid-speed adjusters or whatever, and so that opens up a lot of
could be part of the service program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It changes the valving though. You have to to change the main stack because now you've got two pistons working.
Right.
I'll call you up I'll call you up on that one.
Get a little advice from the
Brandon
You
says
got to
that's a
tone.
formula.
You definitely have to tone main piston valving down when you add a DSA or an ACV because you're
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yep.
Brandon says he has a formula that
10% cut.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but he said he figured it out.
Okay.
How much to reduce?
Yeah.
I wish he'd give me that formula.
Yeah.
Back to the DSA and the JCO. We kind of went over this in the video, but I didn't, or maybe we didn't. But you look at the JCO and just a small knob on the top of the shock. Like, what can this actually do, right? And with the problems of the high-speed adjuster kind of running out of clicks because of the issue that we have, I was running the same lines for a bunch of times, ran out of clicks on the high speed, and then there was still a couple bumps that I felt like I was still kind of had that like harsh bottoming feel, and had the JCO wide open, and then I turned it basically fully closed because I figured, hey, fully open, fully closed, I should be able to tell a difference. And immediately I did. And I was like, am I imagining things? So I turned it back open, reran the line. I'm like, okay, it's back. Okay, rerun the line like it's there, that harsh feeling is there. I'm like, okay, rerun the line with it fully closed again. I'm like, okay, it's gone. I'm not imagining things. So that was like, it was, I'm like all these, honestly, I was like, there's a lot of knobs going on. I know the technology in the 8112s is already substantial with the RCO and JCO. And so introducing a bunch of stuff, I was kind of worried that like, is it going to be beneficial? And, the JCO definitely was in that situation of running really hard terrain. I mean, we were running pretty, foot whoops, 1.5 foot whoops, just like you'll see it on video during the review, but made a massive difference. And so now that we're getting the rear end dialed a little bit better, we're opening up more clicks in the front. I don't even know how I'm going to test all the rest and at what speeds, but phenomenal product.
Yeah, you'd be able to see that very clearly in the dyno test. You'll be able to see when the JCO knob is clicked, you'll be able to see those individual lines, and it's very, very pronounced how much more it gets from 0 to full clicked, open to closed, right?
Even with the wide open, you can see how it ramps up substantially through the first zone of bump into the second zone of bump. It's just significant. It's
I'm thinking about
what was it? What was that one we tested? It was like into the 15,000 newtons of force.
It was insane amount of force. Yeah. I don't remember specifically.
The graph went off the paper at that point.
We need the graph.
Yeah.
I was thinking about after this doing a +2 kind of long travel kit with the 8112s as well. Like, have you guys
not tested that? No,
haven't done it.
My thought is we could probably get a bit of an extended rod end.
Well, isn't a +2 designed to go with the stock replacement?
But it does change motion ratio a bit.
Yeah.
So you would want to change either spring or valving, probably, since you've got a bumper.
Yeah.
And all that, probably.
Yeah.
I would be eager to see. I just don't see it being much better than what it does with stock lowers and what do you have, SPC uppers?
Right now, yes. Planning on. That's just because I didn't want to fork over the money for the Icon billets. But yeah, I needed something to move that tire forward a little bit because I didn't feel like doing the cab mount chop.
Yeah, geometry correction. Yeah.
That
I would think the biggest improvement would be now you're gonna, if you keep the same ride height, now you're gonna have a little bit more droop, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be better for like rock crawling,
Right.
and trail riding. But
I wonder how much more you'll fill that RCO.
I wonder how much different it's going to be for.
Well, we'll find
going
out.
fast.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
I think it's
Always
going to be
interested
great
in
because
seeing
you're
it.
going to be able to do a 2-inch overkit without a welding in the extra bump, without doing anything with the limit strap. You're going to be kosher.
Yeah.
Bolt on and go.
But you're probably definitely going to want to adjust the valving. Maybe you can do that with the clickers.
Yeah, I think there's enough. I think there would be enough compliance in the damper to externally.
What I'm kind of trying to kind of show and get at is like, because people running the +2 kits or the +4 kits, they're on these IFS vehicles. They're putting the external hydro bumps on top and limit straps as well. I'm like, okay, well, do you need? Can a +2 kit on the 8112s keep up with most of that. Like,
I think so.
You know,
Yeah, that would be
a,
interesting to see.
on just a general, you know, Baja trip. We're not talking like racing or EMC or anything like that. We're just talking like keeping up with the friends, right? That's really what most guys want to do, or leave.
I mean, most of your crowd's recreational.
Yep.
So
exactly.
most of your consumer and clientele is recreational. So
yeah, but we're getting a lot of inbound about asking, you know, about Camberg's +2 kit or TC's +2 kit and how all that works together and stuff. So I'm trying to get educated on our end in that arena.
It seems really cool because they say that you don't need a fiberglass fender, which you kind of do when you really
On the
push it.
+2.
Oh yeah.
Well, we had to get fenders.
We had to
when
get
we were
fenders.
getting
8112s.
8112s.
Yeah.
Because we were blowing fenders off. So I don't know if I believe that or not. If you really push it.
Yeah.
But
I think
but
with
either
the 8112s,
that.
I think with the 8112s, if you look under your fender well, take some photos, and then use those 8112s once they're all dialed from here. Go out to the same area
And then see.
and take pictures of your fender well. That upper A arm, that upper SPC arm, is going to contact the inner fender well.
Okay.
It's going to punch the fender wells out.
Got it.
Because, you know, you got all that deflection in the rubber grommets at the bottom. SPC uses rubber grommets at the top. Okay. All that has a ton of deflection. So when you're hitting, it's all on the same plane. So it's bringing it up. That's why you'll see when you see cars going down these whooped roads and the tires are hitting the back fender, hitting the front fender, just because of all that deflection.
Right.
Okay.
There's so much deflection in those arms. People don't realize how much deflection is. So you'll get a bunch of contact. I think once you get this thing romping, you'll end up with fenders on it regardless, whether it's 2 over or not, because you're going to be able to cycle it.
The 2 over is cool because now it gets at least your wheelbase back out or your width.
Track width.
That always
track
bugs
width
me
comes
with-
back.
Because
Yeah.
I see it, I'm like, oh man, it's like narrower in the front. That bothers me.
That's definitely
So to get
scary
that-
when you turn.
I mean, it's not like it's that bad.
But that's
it's
the
just,
difference between performance and gaining ride height,
Right.
though. If you got a
Oh, yeah.
performance suspension and you're not trying to peg it,
Right.
you don't really tell.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're trying to get 3 inches out of a coilover, out of a King, a Fox, an Icon, a BILSTEIN, of course it's going to suck that track width in. You're going to be maxed out. Like it's just
That's what's
what
going
it is.
on.
Yeah.
That didn't really dawn on me, but
Yeah. And the problem is these guys in 4th and 5th gen 4Runners and FJ Cruisers that want to do 35s, now 37s, it's like you have no choice but to max out your suspension, to peg your suspension.
yeah.
oh, you can get a Pro Comp 6-inch kit. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
And then
Dude,
you put
and this is like
I almost put a Pro Comp 6-inch kit on my Tacoma back in like 07.
and then you woke up.
Yeah.
Luckily, someone bought it the same day that the kit arrived, and I decided to make $4,000 instead of putting it on my own truck. Oh, thank God! If I went down that road, I probably wouldn't be here.
if you want 35s and a 37,
I
why
hate
not?
swing. I
why
hate
not?
swing set kits, man. I hate subframe drop kits.
But
But if
seriously,
you're trying to
why
fit a
not?
35 or 37 on there, relax all your driveline and just put a hanger kit on there.
Just be done with it.
Just, rather than pinning your suspension. I use this analogy all the time. You put 500 pounds of weight in a wheelbarrow, and you have the wheelbarrow. You're pushing it, and the handles are at your knees. You have complete control. Reach under that wheelbarrow and put it up by your chest.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what you're putting your suspension through.
Well, now with the new 24 Tacoma, now with the new 24 Tacoma, people are like, oh, we don't have to max out the suspension to put 35s and 37s on. And then now everyone's going to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. We get so many customers that immediately they're like, I'm on a 3-inch kit. Like, why?
Right.
I don't know. It's
Right.
just because
The tire.
It's just a thing.
We just
it's the
talked
tire.
about this with Sean Holman last week.
Word of mouth from your friends.
Yeah.
That's what.
Is eventually we're going to go and your business is going to change. Your outlook of your business is going to change. The outlook of our business is going to change because we're going to be operating off yaw sensors, body modules, and all this stuff to where increasing ride height isn't going to be an option at some point because it's not like even the Blue Cruise on the F-150s. Like you alter it, you have to have it remapped. Otherwise, the Blue Cruise just goes crazy. You can't use it.
Yeah.
So there's so many technologies within these vehicles that the only option is going to be no lift, but performance dampers.
Unless it's the Fox Factory $220,000 vehicle that just came out.
Oh yeah, yeah, I saw that.
You don't have to lift it at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How is that? How do they compare? Let me ask you a question. Third party.
Does it have a cage?
How do you compare that to a 100% OEM TRX or a 100% OEM Ford Raptor.
Yeah.
And at
don't ask me.
And at $210,000,
they're going to sell all 500.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lawyers and doctors and everything that want to be in that.
I mean, I was thinking, we were talking in the office, how do you build it yourself? I'm like, you can't build a 3-year warranty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
but will it have a 3-year warranty? That's the thing. That's what
what I said. Or that's
that's what everyone's concern is how that warranty is
Actually.
being built. The truck's coming. From what I understand, it's coming to basically an OE truck, and it's going to Fox. They're building it with the Baja
kits.
kits, long travel kit, and their shock and bump. And I just don't know how the OEs have a hard enough time warranting the OE stuff.
The OE stuff, let alone.
You know what I mean? You get a guy back there that doesn't know what he's looking at. He's like, yeah, this is aftermarket. This is.
I mean, the way I did it, there's probably 20% of that price is the warranty premium, because you can build that truck basically for quite a bit less, but like not with that warranty, and not just all, people want just a bolted on, they want to buy the truck with it ready to go, and it's a race truck. It'd be like the same thing of
but is it a race truck? Like I really want to see how that compares to the T-Rex with Bilstein's, or the production Raptor. Raptor R.
If it's cycling an inch more in the front and the back, I mean, isn't that just like kind of just baseline?
Kind of nominal.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the rear. It's on a trailing arm, though.
Doesn't make it a race truck, though. I
mean, that's true.
So do the other ones.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Does it come with a cage?
No. So yeah, not legitimate race truck. Yeah.
Right.
Don't quote me on that.
But I think it's going to be uniball uppers, uniball lowers, and all that. So these businessmen that are buying these trucks, when they're going through the Starbucks drive-through and it's going, they're going to wonder why they spent $210,000.
I mean, I've seen 6100 trucks for $250,000 used.
Right.
Why would I even waste my time with this?
38 inches of rear travel.
Yeah, on a factory. Yeah.
Is that what they?
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that this morning. It's like, when we used to go down to the races back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was fun because you'd go by Zoo Road and there's these guys with 13 inches of travel just trying to hustle down Zoo Road, and now it's like, it looks like they're in a parking lot.
Yeah, it's just
because they got
over 6 foot
26 inches of center mounted A arms or beamed or whatever it is, and just blowing down Zoo Road, and it's just like they're drinking their Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They just drove through.
Before, you'd see a beamed car with equal length beams or something, and it just pogoing down this thing, just trying to stay on top of them, like they weren't letting out of the throttle.
No.
Yeah, don't want to fall down in the middle of those.
I think
that's a lot of money for a non-caged
it is
production vehicle with less. Does it have less horsepower?
I thought that the advertisement was pretty corny when they drove it into the dealership and the guy said, "You're not even going to wash it."
Of course.
I thought that was so 80s. Maybe that's what they were after.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about what you need; it's about what you want.
Exactly.
Correct. That's correct.
There you go.
Like you said with the brand.
And as long as you're educating them, so as long as is Shock Surplus, Sean and his crew are educating these people of what are you going to do with your vehicle, and you make the decision to go full blown. That's perfect. That's fine. But I want you to know that you don't need X to do X.
Yeah.
You need X to do X. Right. So.
It's a cars and coffee truck. Just leave it stock.
I sold my Tanya's Rebel recently.
Oh yeah,
and the new owner is like, 6112s in the front and stock Ram Rebel, piggyback BILSTEIN reservoirs in the back. He's like, I don't know if I might want to upgrade the rear. I'm like, well, where are you going to take this? Yeah. Well, I go to the Sierras, and I'm going to camp.
Didn't we put 5160s on the back of that?
Well, it has OEM Rebel shocks. 46 millimeter Ram Rebel.
Yeah.
Piggybacks.
I never changed them because we're driving.
Yeah.
We have a camper. We're driving like maybe 40 miles an hour in a graded road. Yeah. And then when we're not on a graded road, we're driving 5 miles an hour.
Right.
I don't need bypass shocks for that. But the guy was asking me, I might want to upgrade the rear shocks. And I'm like, well, you're going to the Sierras. You're driving 5 miles an hour. You might go to Joshua Tree and drive on the road, maybe drive off-road a little bit. But, I mean, it's like, this is pretty darn good the way it is. I don't think I would spend
I mean,
a couple $1,000 for rear
It ain't
shocks.
going to win a free coffee and breakfast sandwich at a Cars and Coffee, but it does its job.
It's got a camper on the back. Like, you know,
it's only so fast you can go.
This is what blows my mind. We've talked about this numerous times. People that go and buy a Rubicon, the first thing they do is buy Dana 60 axles. Why buy a Rubicon?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a 2-wheel drive JK?
Yeah, the only reason you bought the Rubicon was for the lockers.
You're gonna know.
Just got rid of it.
Just like guys that buy the TRD Pro, they want Kings for it. Why'd you buy the Pro?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
What did the Pro have that the TRD Off Road doesn't have technology wise? Like, I mean, there's not much.
Yeah.
You know, like.
What about when you buy that truck we were talking about
I'm just
and
assuming,
pull off the Foxes and put Kings on it?
That's going to happen.
What about that guy?
What about the guy that
it will happen.
What about the guy that pulls the Bilsteins off a TRX and puts the Kings on there and realizes
it's not active anymore? Yeah.
Now the Christmas tree's up.
Yeah.
It's
Now the whole dashboard's lit
It's
up.
not active no more.
Yeah.
So
and it's in limp mode, so you can't use your horsepower.
So it's just like I'm wondering how the Trail Hunter crowd and the new TRD, the new TRD 4Runner, the Pro's going to come, and how many people are going to be so. This is why I'm saying it doesn't matter who's OE on the car, because everyone's going to change it anyway, because they don't want to show up to Cars and Coffee with OE stuff.
With a stock truck, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
there's a guy with a TRX that was bugging us. He's like, you guys need to come out with a better shock for this TRX.
Yeah.
So he sends us a video, and he like launches the thing like
lawn darts
6 feet in the air, lands flat, keeps going.
How much better?
What else did you want to do?
Exactly.
Your airbag didn't go off.
Yeah.
We did the job.
Like what? It's not going to get any better than that.
Yeah. We couldn't do anything to make it any better. That's for sure.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I could fork out 100 racks and then jump it. That's just not. I mean, maybe it's my era, but I'm just.
You should just drive that to Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe I just have more respect for my personal items, but I would never spend $100,000 on a truck to go see how I can long dart this thing across a desert road. You know what I mean? It's like
I've jumped there's a spot up in Reno where I jumped train tracks with the Ram, just to that's where I take the shocks, and that's where I jump them.
Yeah,
it's been in the air a number of times.
But you also own a shock business,
that's
right? So I could see why you're
part
taking
of the job.
I could see why you're taking your daily vehicle out there, because you're testing product.
Yeah, we bought that Ram. I was really close to buying a Raptor or an F-150, but I'd never had a solid axle vehicle before, and so it was like, wait, we're gonna get a solid axle to understand the different motion ratios and the geometry, and just understand that a little bit better. So, but love the truck. Definitely a lot of room for the family, but everything that I drive is really compared to a Raptor. And just how plush that thing is most of the time, and just how capable that thing is off-road at in most speeds. So I'll find myself in a Raptor here pretty soon, probably.
So you speaking of Raptor, last week we had an episode with our buddy Sean Holman, and we were out in Moab tuning with him a few years ago when he had the gray Jeep, supercharged JL.
Yeah. Me
and Shane and Wes retuned the back shocks. They were just 60 millimeter smooth body shocks, are 60 millimeter smooth body. So Wes did a different tune on them to make them a little more aggressive at high speed. And we were chasing him in a Raptor and could not keep up with him.
Nice.
And you know where Chicken Corners is, right? That's where we...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where the Goonie Bird Road.
Yeah, all that embedded rock and stuff. And he was...
And the little whoops and stuff like that.
He was gone.
And we're back here going...
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the factory Raptor stuff isn't the best. I mean, not as good as the aftermarket stuff that we can play with, but yeah.
I'd love to see you do, and we've always talked about getting this done, but take your truck, maybe Buzz's truck, and compare it to a side-by-side comparison to a bone stock Raptor.
Yeah, we've been talking about that as well. Me and Buzz chased each other around in Barstow. That was a lot of fun too. We never really saw a clear winner and who was out front or anything like that. But I think that's the whole comparison thing there is so much gold for the audience, and what they're,
and it's an eye opener at what a replacement performance shock can do.
Yeah, we had toyed with an episode, Tundra build versus a Raptor, just similar horsepower and all that to see if we could get somebody to take on that. But Tundra on 8112s versus a Raptor was an episode we were
just to kind of see what the difference would be.
Or even your Tacoma against maybe the Ranger Raptors coming out, right?
Yep. That'd be more.
That'd be a great
horsepower wise. Is
so do I buy a second gen Tacoma for $20,000 with 100,000 miles, or do I buy a $90,000 Ranger Raptor?
Are they coming in at 90?
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I do I don't know, once a year, once every other year since 2016, we do a trip where we drive from Anza Borrego to Vegas off road to do like a demo. We did that 2016 off road to SEMA, where
that was the first year of the 8112s.
Launched the 8112, and we drove the dirty truck onto the SEMA floor. It was fantastic for me because I hate SEMA and I hate all the shiny cars that are fake.
Trucks,
all the powder coat and Bluetooth driveline.
Yeah. But we do a demo like our early guys like, let's go with Toyota. Let's go. We did one with Tesla, and we had TRX, Raptor, Jeeps, Gladiator. We had two Tacomas, two Tundras with 8112s, and pretty much by the end of the trip, that was their favorite car. The Tundra with 8112s.
And that car now is in Hamilton.
Well, we had two.
I know, but the one is in Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's treated like a stepchild. That's like the shop truck. And every time that goes to an event, it's the crowd favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when Wes took Sarah King in that through the dunes in Moab?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just ripping.
I mean, think about it.
And that's basically Buzz's setup.
Yep.
But with your bone stock leaf spring pack with a bypass and an 8112 in the front with a stock upper arm. Or no, it has a camber arm.
Camberg arm and Devers.
Oh, it did have Devers.
Yeah. But we also had another one with no arms and stock springs.
I wish we were in that Tundra when we were chasing Holman. We would have probably caught it.
But the Tundra with the Devers and the Devers and the upper arm, because it was lifted pretty high. It had like a built right upper arm, but whatever. Just a great truck. Road
200 and something thousand miles.
It had your favorite rims, Rock Warrior rims with 35s.
I wanted to buy the truck just for the wheels and then just trash the truck.
But think about it. You're like not. Well, I tell these people don't just go drive across the desert to Vegas. Nobody does that.
You could, yeah.
You know what I mean? But think about it. You have a Tundra with a kit on it and some Devers, 35s, and you comfortably drive across the California desert, like 300 miles of dirt.
Dang.
Think about that.
A lot of people don't put that many miles in the dirt, but like after a long day, just even like a 6 hour or 8 hour day on the trail, like at the end of the day, I'm like rolling out my back on the floor with like my freaking foam roller.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is like you're driving down the road, pretty much.
Dang.
Nice.
So that's really like that's really where qualifying a customer, like a day in a stock Tacoma versus a day in 8112s and 8100s off road.
Yeah.
You'll need a foam roller.
We're just talking about EGS. My very first time at EGS was like basically with my Tacoma on some Fox 2.0s, and I was chasing around guys on 42s and Jeeps and whatnot, and I'm like just so far behind, and it was like terrible. It was fun because of all the awesome trails out there and whatever, but I was so green and chasing them around, and then I went back out there with a new set of shocks like 5 or 6 years later, and like it was just such much different, more enjoyable experience. And yeah, I don't know. A set of suspension is like the game changer for your vehicle, and a lot of my own sales guys don't even understand like what a lot of the suspension that they're selling can do. They're using borrowed knowledge from the education we pass down and everything. But like once you get someone in a vehicle, and you're like, this is what this $3,000 setup or $4,000 setup can do, that are just like completely blown away.
Right.
They've never been that fast.
To sit in the seat and feel it.
Remember my face when I was in the driver's when I was in the passenger seat of the Gladiator TDS 2019. Well, and I knew the shocks were good. I didn't know how good they were, but we went.
That's out like the first time you've got to go fast.
We went out to TDS, and I'm like, you can't bolt a shock and a spring on it. I was that guy. You can't bolt a shock and a spring on any Jeep solid axle vehicle and it be good. I was telling them there's no way. So we went out, turned knobs. I don't even think we adjusted tire pressure.
Yeah, we didn't.
We didn't. So we were at 35 PSI and Wes buckles a seatbelt and wide open. And he's hitting like 3-foot shelves. And I'm like, you're like,
yeah, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
We're gonna die.
I'm like,
This
because
is in a JT.
this is in a JT, and I'm only doing that because every TJ or
You don't
JK
expect
that
it.
I've ever built, you couldn't dampen that. You couldn't dampen that out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, out of all this, for sure we have a bent axle.
Nope.
Nope.
It just absorbed. I mean, it just dampened it so well. The axle didn't bend. You take that impact on something that's not damping it.
It will bend.
It's going to bend the axles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I've been really trying to open, culture is the biggest thing for us. And I think that's the biggest thing for automotive in general. It's just like a byproduct. Usually people that work in automotive, they like the cars or like being outside or like racing or whatever. Nowadays it's like I think about the culture as the prime driving force behind the business. Hard skills are kind of secondary, culture and attitude, primary. But getting the guys in some kind of go fast vehicle, whether it's on a track or in the dirt, really like I wouldn't say like sells them on it, but like really helps understand like what we're doing and how big of a difference recommendations can make or how it all transfers to the customer.
You need to feel it.
Yeah, it's like you said.
That's why I say we get those protos on Bowman's Bronco before that thing ends up at Copart.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said with the dynographs, right? So people, you talk about it and you say it does this, it does that. Then you show them the dynograph and it's like, okay, now I see it on paper. The next step is sitting in the seat and actually seeing and feeling what the vehicle can do.
I'm championing that right now with our UTV product because so we have this driver, Doug Matag, who like made us build the most badass UTV product ever because the guy's like crazy, right?
Yeah, he outdrives everything we put on his car.
So we finally have we have this.
He's in the air more than he's like on the dirt.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We have the zone control technology, which is awesome. So what better vehicle to put that on is something with 20 inches of travel, right?
Yeah.
That's off the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't
Bolt-on.
even, he takes the brake pads off to keep the vehicle light.
Yeah, it keeps it cooler that way too. Yeah.
But we spent the last year competing at the highest level. He's maybe not. I think he's won a couple races, but he's like led King of the Hammer. He's qualified second King of the Hammers.
Qualified
Finished
first.
1,000.
Yeah.
Like he led 2 laps at Mint 400 very publicly.
Dude.
And anyways, so we have a product that will keep up with Doug Matag. But anyways, so now we're ready to go to market. We have Polaris, Can-Am. We've got, and we're still working on a few models. We're working on a new Can-Am,
Turbo
Maverick
S.
R. But we have Turbo S on the shelf. We've got Can-Am on the shelf. We just did Pro R. But it's like,
Now-
we need to get the salespeople out.
Just to clarify, you're not going to get just to clarify, you're not going to, all of our products that are sold are for recreational.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a race tune required,
Yes.
which is available at Bilstein.
Oh, interesting.
There's a race tune if you want to try to catch Doug Matag.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
There's an out-of-the-box tune and a race tune.
everything
That's-
that's sold in the box is a recreational damper.
That's I was thinking about this and talking before, where it's like if I started a brand new shock business right now, which I'm thinking about, I would have a out of the box tune, I'd have a comfort tune, and then I'd have a race tune, and provide those shim stacks in the box for the customer to do their own thing. Like
Kind of like what we're going to do.
Yeah, or
Whose idea was that?
put more knobs on it, right?
Whose
Just
idea
put
was
more
that,
knobs
Shane?
on it. Yeah.
we it's in the ether, and you grab those ideas when they
Yeah,
come
Shane.
up.
We talked about this how long ago, Shane?
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
Me and Shane's been talking about this. I'm like, what we need to do is in the box, the race piston goes in the box. So a piston that's not been drilled for bleed, a race piston, and a documented race stack
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just swap it out.
goes right in a Ziploc bag. So you get the option to put that in if you want to use that shock, because that's all that it is. I mean, there's a little.
You'll create some serious brand loyalty with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'll tell you, there's more to it. There is a bit more to it
Of course.
When you're racing at a Doug Mittag level.
Right. I mean, you have to set the crossover nuts in the right place. You have to have the right
even further than that. You got to drill out the bridges. You have to run dash 10 fittings because displacement, right?
Well, he's got a lot of experimentation in the tuning, right?
Yes.
Because every time he goes out, Nathan's trying something new.
Yeah. Right. Well, as you saw,
you're never just going, oh, that's it.
You saw the famous Doug Mittag jump, and he didn't end up paralyzed. So you know the shocks did their job. You know, what did he jump that thing? 246.
That was crazy in the Glamis
on accident.
Camp Razor. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you guys have an off-road track out here? Your own?
No, we would usually go to the public lands.
Yes. Oh, okay. I always wondered, like, there's always a big hiccup or a lot of friction in ride-alongs, right, to feel out the product, right? But like every single brand has such a hard time doing that.
Right.
Liability
and all that kind of stuff. So I always think about that and how do you get people in the seat.
I think Shane was headed that direction with the
yeah, like internally, it's like we have this product and we have all these salespeopeople and they don't know what it is. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's like, this stuff is insane. We went out, Garrett, and we did a before and after with a Turbo S with stock shocks, BILSTEIN, and it was like just driving at 10 feet. There's a difference.
And that was a recreational tune right out of the box. Yeah. And you could show them the video.
Well, we'll add it to
you'll see Nathan, the guy I introduced you to. He's driving it because he didn't want to.
Yeah. Cage thing.
Yeah.
You know,
gotcha.
I don't want to roll.
Yeah.
But,
hot metal frame.
Dude,
that's what an education gets you.
Yeah, dude, gun shy on UTV.
That's what the
things
degree
is real.
gets you.
Yeah.
But like,
Common
just
sense.
like that's like to me, like the best product we've ever made. Where you
Halo.
best product meaning not just the most technology, but that you took something off and you put this on, and it was the biggest difference.
Makes the biggest difference.
Maybe that's something. Yeah. Do I hear something like Shock Surplus maybe sponsoring something like this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're trying to do a bunch of ride.
Is that what you were hinting at? Yeah. That you can do some ride and drives?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we? Yeah.
How do we do that?
How do we do that?
Yeah.
Because it's like it's really hard with it. I've said it internally, like with a Tacoma. Like it's hard for get into Tacoma. Like who's Tacoma? Like, I don't know who's Tacoma. Like let's go for a before and after ride on a Tacoma. It's like, well, you got to have this one. These things cost a lot of money. But in a UTV, you know, people have stock ones. People have and they're easy to put the shocks on and off.
Right.
You know, that'd be that'd be a great idea, a marketing idea for all the brands that you test and for you guys as well, because you have such a huge following in the shock game, to say, hey, we're going to have a Tacoma out here we're going to have a Bronco out here with the 2.5 Elites. We're going to have it with the 8112s, and we're going to have one with the Kings. The three biggest competitors in that market.
Yeah.
I would say. Would you?
Yep.
Or Icon. The Icon 2.5s. We're going to have 4 Broncos out here.
And then
we want all the Bronco owners out here to come and drive. We want to. What do you want?
Yeah, you could just do round robin. They could all just swap cars.
Or because Bronco's kind of not getting as much traction as Toyota.
Yeah. It's a little
Tacoma.
different. Yeah.
Do a Tacoma and say, hey, here's the 8112s and the 8100s. Here's the Elites. Here's the IFP Kings, and here's the...
In this space, it's the only way to kind of balance out the brand versus performance kind of argument, right? It's just like, get behind these.
Or the grandfathered in thought process that I have to have these to have the best, right?
It's a big decision. Yeah. Like,
but even though you're only going to capture 10% of that clientele, you know what I mean? So if you're saying that, let's say the Foxes are the best.
You capture 10%, and then... all those people will tell they'll tell one more person, and then
they sit around and talk about their trucks over a beer at the campfire.
I think at the end of the day, you get 30 or 40 people out there that want to drive all 4 of these Tacomas.
Yeah,
you're still gonna walk. They're still gonna walk away being brand loyal.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Right? Or biased, whatever car they get in.
Yeah.
The best way to do it's kind of like what Ian did.
Yep.
Is blindfold them.
Yeah. Do the blind. That was such an amazing thing. When that came out, I was like, damn it, Ian. You beat us to the punch.
Yeah, that was
he's got the 2.0 series coming out.
He's working on that as well.
Yeah.
Well, whether biased or not, just a chance to be able to feel it.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter what brand, or just to feel stock versus modified, and then be able to feel the difference between all the different
and again, though, that's
top brands.
Again, that's very subjective, right? Because Ian felt it one way. Shane would feel it another way. And that's why all these brands sell. Like,
and now people are coming. we're recommending, we'll recommend a performance elite, and then they'll be like, but I heard the Fox 2.5s were not, this video was saying that they're the worst. I'm like, well, that was a different series than the performance elite, and
comparing different products, different ride characteristics,
and so that's
different speeds.
That's just the delta of like information or misinformation.
They only hear what they want to hear
in the market. Yeah.
I watched Ian's video, and he said these elites were terrible.
Yeah.
Why are you recommending?
But it was
them?
a completely different test.
They're not even the elites.
They weren't even the elites.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the ride along is the key to this. I mean, it's really the only product segment I know where the ride along is like the key to unlock.
That's the sales point.
There's just a big opportunity there where
sell the technology.
Yeah.
You got to sell the technology, man.
Well, you got to sell the benefits, I think. It's the
what does it do for you?
Exactly. Yeah. The technology is like almost overwhelming at this point sometimes, right?
Which goes back to how does it feel? What is it? What am I actually going to feel different when I sit in the seat and drive this thing from everyone else's?
Well, we did the before and after on the Turbo S, and I did that in the video, which I don't know if it'll ever air, but it was like...
I think the words were, holy shit.
In the stock vehicle, I was bouncing out of the seat. I was scared. My helmet was going right. My head was going left. What else, Garrett? It was harsh.
Yeah.
And just super uncomfortable. I felt unsafe.
Yeah.
The Bilstein, you can drive with your pinky. Didn't feel unsafe. Helmet was going straight, and I could see when I was driving it versus not.
You should have got a helmet that
didn't get your eyeballs bounced out of your head.
You should have got a helmet that fit.
Yeah.
No, I just got better shocks.
Yeah. Don't need a new helmet, just get better shocks.
So that was the benefit.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
All right. We're going to wrap this one up.
Cool.
Sean, thanks for coming
you.
out.
Thanks for having us.
We enjoyed having you here.
It was an honor having you here.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we
We always watch your videos. Everyone in the company watches your videos.
Who doesn't
always watch your videos?
I don't know.
Who doesn't watch
We're always like, did you see that shock surplus video?
Yeah. It gets passed around on Teams 10 times.
All the engineers like it.
Yeah.
Or Sean saying firm again.
Yeah.
What's a better verb?
Well, we like controlled.
Okay, controlled.
We like controlled.
Yep, comfort through control.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I super appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And whatever we can do to help your business grow, we're always here.
Great. I'll fix my 8112s.
It's happening right
Doing
now.
it now.
Yeah. It's in process.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and put your comments and questions in the area down below, and we'll see you next time on Shock Talk.